So you say you need a little help in Mod 16 on your control wizard. Well then step into my office, have a seat in my chair, and let me explain to you guys my control wizard build for Mod 16. Enjoy! What is going on YouTube? The Assist Man, and yes man, I'm coming back at you guys with another Neverwinter YouTube video. You seen the intro, man. It's time to take you guys to school. I've been telling you guys for a couple of days. I've been on the game non-stop, like 12 hours a day for the past 4 days, and literally all I have been doing is testing stuff, and me and all my friends, literally like me and 4 of my friends, have just been sitting in a party for like 10 hours a day, just testing everything in the game. Testing all the companions, testing all the gear, testing all the artifacts, the old artifacts, the new stuff, everything. We've been testing so I can get the information to you guys. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys my Mod 16 Control Wizard build. Now, I have tested everything on the Control Wizard. I personally feel that after testing everything, this is the best stuff to use on the Control Wizard, and it is going to do the most damage. If you don't believe me, replicate what I do, put it on for yourself, and test it for yourself. I've tested it plenty of times, and I think that everything I'm telling you in this video is by far the best. I'm going to try to make this video as short as possible, but it's probably still going to wind up being a little bit longer because we have a lot of stuff to cover. So if you guys do enjoy this video, man, don't forget to hit that thumbs up like button, and if you have not subscribed to my channel, please do so as well. Subscribing is free. So, let's go ahead and get into it. We will start. Control Wizard. Here's my character sheet. I do want to let you guys know, on my gear, I don't have any of my enchantments on at all. The reason why is I transferred all of my enchantments to another character because I am testing out my Trickster Rogue again. And I'm going to bring you guys a Mod 16 Trickster Rogue build as well. I'm currently in the process of testing out my Trickster Rogue, so that's why I don't have any of my enchantments on, but it doesn't make a difference. This video is to give you guys the best build of all the stuff you're going to need. So let's start with gear. Headpiece. What I currently have equipped is the prized cowl of the cult. The reason why is it gives you 5% more damage in the Undermountain. Now, this is not the best headpiece to use. If you go into the collections guide, which we're going to do right now, and you go over to Undermountain, this Protege's Charmed Hat is going to be best in slot. The reason why is because it gives you the plus 5% damage in the Undermountain. A lot of us are going to be spending most of our time in the Undermountain and playing the brand new campaign, so you want to try to get as much damage as you can. You compare this to the prize cowl of the cult, it basically is the exact same thing, has the exact same stats, but the stats are higher. So it's item level 980 instead of 909. It gives you more combined rating, more defense, more power, more hit points, so on, so forth. It's going to be better. I don't have it yet, obviously, so that's the reason I don't have it equipped. Now, like I said in the previous video, guys, do not equip gear just because it has a higher item level. It is not better. A lot of the old gear is still best in slot. It is still best to use. So for the chest piece, you want to be using the Hag's Rags. Yes, I know it's item level 756. Yes, I know it's old. But yes, it is still the best armor to use in the game for a control wizard. Reason why is the equip bonus, Sniper's Perk. Your ranged powers do 3% more damage. That's a lot. In order to get 3% more damage by stacking power, you're going to need about 8,000 power. And there's not a single piece of gear in the game that's going to give you that. So, Hag's Rags, best in slot for character on your armor. Let's talk about the arms. Once again, another old piece. Terrored Grips, still best in slot. Your encounter powers do 3% more damage. Character sheet, let's go back. Main hand, you can get any level 80 weapon is going to be best in slot. You can get the Mountaineer Orb, you can get the Alabaster, you can get the Watcher, any one of them. Just pick which one you want the most due to the set bonus, but obviously use a level 80 artifact weapon and offhand. As far as your feet go, you want to be using the Enduring Boots. Yes, I know these are really, really old, but they're still best in slot because they have the equip bonus Charged Fury. When your stamina is over 75%, your damage is increased by 3%. You want to try to equip any piece of gear that is going to give you a damage percent increase. It will make you do more damage than power. Trust me on this. 3% more damage is like the equivalency, depending on how much power you have, but most endgame players should have around 140, 150. You would have to add like 6,000 more power to get 3% more, and there's not a single piece of gear in the game that gives you that much. So, the headpiece. You can acquire this from the new expeditions. That's where I got it from. The armor, Hags Rags, comes from running a hunt, a poster in Barovia. Turret Grips, once again, comes from running a hunt, a poster in Barovia. The new level 80 weapons could either be purchased from the Delver's Expedition pack, which you can buy, or trade in your Astral Diamonds for it, or you can get the Alabaster or the Watcher set to drop in Master Expeditions or when completing them. The Enduring Boots, the way they get these is go to the jungles of Cholt, to the lost city of Omu, and you want to trade in your Lich Lore to Makos when you first load in. You need 25 Lich Lore, and then you could buy the Enduring Boots off him for 25. All right, let's talk about best in slot artifact set. A lot of you guys are going to think to go with one of the new ones because it has higher item level. I wouldn't do it. A lot of you guys are thinking that Baphomet's Demogorgon set is still better. I don't think it is. You know what I think is the best one on multiple classes? Is this old-ass Lost Mount set. This Lost Mount's Horde Necklace with the Golden Belt of Puissance and Lost Mount's Horn of Blasting. Reason why, let's look at the equip bonus. 3 of a set. You do an additional hit for weapon damage on a critical hit. Reason why this is important is we're not doing that much damage anymore, okay? We're not. So, you know, back in the days, we used to do average encounter, used to hit for 1 million, you know? So your weapon damage was like 3,000. So doing an extra hit for 3,000 on 1 million hit is nothing. You're not even going to see it. But times have changed. In Mod 16 now, we don't do that much damage, and the enemies have had their damage pool, their health pool decreased by a ton. So when you're only doing like 10,000 damage, and then you have weapon damage of 4,000, and you could do another hit for weapon damage on a critical hit, it's going to add up a lot. I'm going to show it to you guys in the test dummy right here. So for instance, if I was to hit this thing, I did a critical hit. You seen that yellow 3430 number? Let's look at the combat log. My Scorching Burst deals 5,956 damage. My Lost Mount's Vengeance, which is the set bonus from the neck, the waist, and the artifact, deals 3,430 physical damage to target. So the Lost Mount damn near did about as much. It did about 60% of the damage of my actual at will. The Lost Mount set procs a lot too. It procs a lot. Look at this. See all these yellow numbers? Let's look at it. Let's go up. Lost Mount's damage, this 2,900. Lost Mount's damage, this 2,900. It just procs over and over and over again. Lost Mount's Vengeance damage. I highly, highly recommend for you guys to be using the Lost Mount set. Yes, I know it's old. Yes, I know it's only item level 575 at Legendary. Yes, I know it doesn't have crazy stats, but trust me, the extra weapon hit you get is going to make up more damage than the Baphomet set. The Baphomet set gives you up to 20% more damage. You never really get that 20% damage. On average, it's about a 9% damage increase. If you're going to hit an enemy for 10,000 and you get 9% more, now you're going to be doing 10,900. Or you can hit that same enemy for 10,000, proc the Lost Mount set, and it's going to do an additional hit for 4,000. It's like over 5 times more damage. So you guys don't have to believe me. You guys don't have to trust me. But I'm telling you right now that the Lost Mouth Horde Necklace is best in slot right now in this mod. The only thing that would be better, or I could say best in slot over the Lost Mouth set is the Tales of the Old set. The Tales of the Old. And the reason why, if any of you guys have any of the Tales of the Old artifacts or artifact pieces, look at the set bonus. The set bonus on the Tales of the Old is the exact same thing as the Lost Mount set. You do an additional hit for weapon damage on a critical hit, but it has higher stats. So if you could obtain the full Tales of the Old neck, belt, and artifact, then that is best in slot. But most players cannot obtain that, especially on consoles, because we haven't got all of the enough Tales of the Old yet. But when we do, that will be best in slot. As far as the rings go, best in slot rings are still going to be the Ring of the Shadowstalker +5 if you have it. I don't. And the Ring of the Shadowstalker +4. Now, there are these rings. I transferred it over to my Trickster Rogue. I do have one. It's called an Ebonized ring. They come Ebonized Restoration rings, Ebonized Assault rings, so on and so forth. They give you 3% more damage. If you have one of those, you want to use that with your Ring of the Shadowstalker. So, for instance, if you had an Ebonized ring and a Ring of the Shadowstalker +5, those what you want to use. If you have an Ebonized ring and you have a Ring of the Shadowstalker +4, that's what you want to use. I have the Ring of the Shadowstalker +4 and this Prized Restoration ring that makes my daily powers do 3% more damage. But there's better rings. Use the Ebonized ones to give you 3% more range damage with the Sniper's perk. As far as shirt and pants, I don't have the best in slot shirt yet. There is a shirt that allows you to do 3% more damage when your stamina is over 75%, just like these Enduring Boots. I don't have it yet. If you guys have it, that is best in slot. As far as trousers go, I think these are pretty good. I don't think that they're best in slot, though. There might be some other ones that are better. I have to see. But this is just gear, okay? Most of the gear, you see, I'm not using any new stuff at all except for the headpiece. I'm not using any of it. All the old gear is still best in slot. Terrored Grips, Hag's Rags, Enduring Boots, like, you know, the Lost Mount set. All this stuff is still best in slot. So use it. If you guys don't want to believe me, then don't believe me. But trust me, I do a ton of damage. I melt things easily in this mod, and it's because of the stuff that I'm using. Now, let's go ahead and get into modifications, like the armor kits you could put on your gear. You really just want to balance out your stats, but mostly everybody should be at the stat caps for everything except for power and combat advantage. So if you see on all my gear, my armor kits I have on are plus 880 power, which are the major things of power. So those are on all my gear. Now, let's go ahead and talk about enchantments. You should be using all Radiant enchantments in your offensive slots. Every single one of your slots should have a Radiant enchantment. Before I took all my enchantments out and put them on my Trickster Rogue, I had all Radiant enchantments in my offensive slots. In your defensive slots, you should have enough defense to get to the cap, which is 68,000 defense. If you do not have 68,000 defense, put some Azure enchantments in your defensive slots. If you're at the cap for 68,000 defense, then put all Radiance in your defensive slots as well for more hit points. As far as utility slots go, you want to be using all dark enchantments. All dark. I don't have any on me right now. I only have a Radiant 15. All of them are on my Trickster Rogue. You want to be using all dark enchantments in your utility slots for more companion influence bonus, so your companion could apply more stats to you. So, offenses, Radiance, defenses, Azures until you're at the 68,000 defensive cap. Then if you are, unslot them. Put in Radiance for hit points. Utilities, darks. Armor enchantments. This is where we get fun now, right? I've tested out all of them. I don't die too much. I barely ever die. So the one I think is the best, honestly, is the Fire Burst enchantment. I have a fully maxed out rank 14 Fire Burst enchantment. The reason why I think that this thing is amazing is it does a ton of damage. Most people shouldn't have problems with survivability in here if you have the right gear and the right mount bonuses. Plus, this thing actually does a lot of damage. It says, when you receive damage, you release a fireball at up to 6 attackers within 15 feet for 100 weapon damage as fire damage. It can occur once every 15 seconds. It also says, when you are critically struck, you generate a flame shield that increases your resistances for 5 seconds. So it's going to give you damage resistances to being dazed, knocked, or prone, all that good stuff. It says, when you receive damage while the flame shield is active, you release another fireball at your attackers, damaging 6 enemies within 20 feet for 75 weapon damage as fire damage. This effect can only occur once every 10 seconds. So basically, once every 10 seconds, you're going to release a fireball that's going to do a lot of damage to enemies. Has a 50% uptime. Once every 15 seconds, you're going to release a fireball at up to 6 enemies. It could occur once every 15 seconds. It has like a 33% uptime. It's amazing. It does a lot of damage. I'm going to show you guys right now. Let's travel to the Well of Dragons. I like to go to that place a lot. Well of Dragons, and I'm going to show you guys. I'm literally just going to go next to enemies, and I'm just going to stand there, and my Fire Burst enchantment is just going to kill them. Now, if you're having problems with survivability, maybe use a Bark Shield or something, but for me, I don't think it makes any difference at all. I think all of the armor enchantments are so bad that in this game, they don't really do anything to help give you more defense, so why not use something that gives you more offense so you could do more damage? So let's just go ahead and find some enemies that somebody hasn't killed. Oh, the dragons are all up. I'm trying to find a pack of enemies. We'll find it here in a second. But so, here, watch this. I'm going to go up to these enemies here. My Fire Burst enchantment is on. They're going to hit me. Watch what's going to happen. Look at that. My Fire Burst enchantment, look at it. You see the yellow numbers? That's my Fire Burst enchantment damaging them. Now, you see my body's not filled with fire because the Fire Burst enchantment is not active. As soon as my body gets flaming again, it's going to be active again, and I'm going to release more fireballs right there. Just hit that guy. You see, I haven't hit these enemies at all once yet, and I already just pretty much almost killed them. You'll see here in a second again. As soon as it comes back and hits, which would be any second now, it's about to hit again. Boom. It hits him for a lot of damage, man. It really, really, really does. And the thing you have to realize, it scales with power and all kinds of stuff. Right now, it's only hitting for 4,000 for me on these guys. But when I had all my enchantments in and everything, my Fire Burst enchantment, look at that, 6,292, 5,427. You get the drift. When I had all my enchantments on for power and whatnot, what it was doing is it was actually hitting for like 15,000. So once every, 10 seconds, you're releasing a fireball. Once every 15 seconds, you're releasing another fireball. That's actually going to hit 6 enemies for 15,000 damage all the time. Let's go to a different stronghold. Let's go to Nightmares. It's a lot of damage. Now, like I said, if you're having problems with survivability, you can, obviously use a Bark Shield, or the Life Drinker enchantment to get some life steal back. But I'm not having any problems with survivability, and I personally think all of the armor defense enchantments are terrible. And they don't really help me out at all. So I rather would use one that does more damage. Now, let's talk about weapon enchantment, man. Everybody is so over on this Vorpal thing. Everybody thinks Vorpal is the best thing ever. Vorpal is best. Well, hey, you know me. I'm always going against the grind. I don't think Vorpal is best. As a matter of fact, I don't think Vorpal is best for most classes. I think that lightning enchantment is best for most classes. And I'm going to tell you why. So, I have them both. I have a Vorpal enchantment and a lightning enchantment. Vorpal enchantment increases your at-wills, blah, 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 makes you do 45% more critical severity. Let's go ahead and throw that on. I want to prove to you guys a point real fast why I think the Vorpal enchantment is nowhere near as good as the lightning enchantment. You could agree to disagree with me, but you're not going to change my mind. I think the lightning enchantment is the best weapon enchantment in the game for multiple classes, including the control wizard. So, I'm going to go ahead and let's put a power on. Let's put on this. Now, when I critically hit, let's get a critical hit first. That's not a critical hit. Waiting for an orange number here. Waiting for an orange number. It's probably going to take a while because, there we go. 9,550 was my critical hit. Okay? Let's do another one. 10,959. Let's do another one. So far, we got 9,500, 10,500. We'll get another critical hit, I'm sure. But it's roughly going to probably be, let's say, on average, 10,000. Yeah, another 10,700 critical hit. So let's say, on average, with the Vorpal enchantment in, my critical hits are hitting for 10,000 damage, okay? Now, that stupid bug. Now, let's take the Vorpal enchantment out. Now let's get a critical hit without the Vorpal enchantment. Remember, we're averaging 10,000. So now our critical hit just hit for 8,200. Let's get another one, just for testing purposes. 7,680. 7,200. So let's say on average our critical hits are hitting for, between, let's say 7,500, 8,000. I'll make it short for you. I've tested this for literally like 4 hours already, so I know. But I'm just trying to show you guys. Without the Vorpal enchantment, my weapon was hitting for like 8. And just so you guys know, if you think that I shouldn't be testing it with this weapon and all this stuff, guys, I do know about the wooden orb. I do have a wooden orb as well, so I know how to test stuff. So it gives you a fixed weapon damage, but I've already done it. I'm not going to waste time testing it in the video. I've done it for hours. So let's just say on average, my weapon on my at will deals 8,000 damage. With a Vorpal, it deals 10,000 damage. So it goes up by about 25%, which is good. Well, I'm going to show you why I think lightning is better. So now let's put the lightning enchantment on, okay? Now, mind you, without the Vorpal, 8,000 damage. With the Vorpal, 10,000 damage. 25% damage increase. Seems really good, right? Now let's go ahead and attack an enemy. And let's go ahead and see what happens. Let's get the lightning to proc. So, as you can see, there's a lot of numbers coming up on the combat log, but when it happens, the lightning just arced. Okay? So what the lightning weapon does is it does added lightning damage to your attacks, and it also arcs damage to nearby enemies. It scales with damage and it scales with power. Okay? So you could see when I hit that enemy, my lightning weapon dealt 195 damage. Then my lightning arc did 7,364 damage. Now, when we had just the weapon on, it did 8,000. When we did the weapon with the Vorpal enchantment, it did 10,000. But the weapon did 8,000, and then the lightning arc just did 7,300. That's 15,300 plus the additional 200 the lightning did. It's 15,500 damage, while the Vorpal only did 10,000. And the thing about the lightning is it's going to arc to multiple enemies, and I'm going to show you guys. Lot of these lightning arcs. Lot of lightning arcs. So, it's going to arc to multiple enemies at once, back and forth. You see all these? Your lightning arc deals 8,125 damage. Your lightning arc deals 8,208 damage. The lightning is hitting harder than my at-wills. So, if you had a damaging ability that did 8,000 damage with no weapon enchantment on, then you put a Vorpal on, and now you get 25% more damage. You get like 10,000 more damage, or 2,000 more damage, so it goes to 10,000. But then you put a lightning on, and then your weapon is back at 8,000 damage, and then you do 2 lightning arcs for 8,000 each. That's 16,000 plus the 8,000 weapon damage. That hit just did 24,000, and the same hit with a Vorpal did 10,000. So, yeah, I'm not going to go into it any further. I've tested it. I showed you guys in the video. I think that the lightning enchantment by far is best in slot, and you could agree to disagree with me, but I'm using it and I'm not changing at all. It does that much damage. It really, really does. And it does a ton more damage when your power is higher and, you actually have all the right stats, which I don't have because I don't have any of my enchantments in. Right now, it only shows I'm item level 16,719 when I'm usually 23,000. So I don't have all my stuff in. So the lightning arcs, when I'm fully maxed out, my lightning arcs are hitting for around 15 to 20,000 each. So it's pretty awesome. All right, so we covered gear, weapon and armor enchantments, all that good stuff. Let's cover artifacts. Artifacts, use whatever ones you can use to get your stats. Obviously, if you have the new ones that are higher item level with more stats, you want to use those. Most people don't have them yet. If you have them, use them. As far as your summoned artifact, I still think, and I'm going to make a separate video about this all by itself, I still think that the Decanter of Atropal Essence is still the best in-slot active artifact to use for every DPS class in the game. I still think it's the best. You get an additional 1,216 damage on each hit for 30 seconds, and for 30 seconds, you get 10% more damage. I don't even have to tell you guys why that's good. It was best in slot in mod 15. It's still best in slot, in my opinion, in mod 16. So I'm still using it. The Decanter of Atropal Essence, you can pick them up on the auction house if you want. They're under equipment. There's not many of them listed. They're getting harder to get. I don't know how much they're at. There you go. 39 of them. There you go. You could get them if you want. I have a couple of them. I'm not selling them, FYI. I think they're too cheap. Decanter of Atropal Essence is best in slot, in my opinion. I think the Decanter should be selling for hundreds of thousands. I'm not selling mine for 40,000. I think it's the best. That's up to you guys. Test it. I think it's the best. Let's go ahead and get into your character sheet as far as your attributes. Go all into intelligence. Put all your points into intelligence for magical damage bonus and charisma for recharge speed and companion influence. Recharge speed, we don't get much of it in this game anymore since they took out recovery. You want to get your powers back, as fast as you can, your daily and so on and so forth. And companion influence gives you a couple extra stats as well. All right, let's cover the more basic stuff. Powers. Here we go. I tested out all the builds. I tested out the Arcanist. I tested out the Lightning. I tested out everything. I tested out all the powers, all the feats, all the dailies, the whole nine. I think that there is one build and only one build that far superior shines above all of them for single target and AOE. And that is this build right here. These are the powers you're going to want to use. I use Ray of Frost in the RT. I switched it out though. Ray of Frost. That is going to be your main thing you're going to use to do damage. Ray of Frost. And counter powers you want to use. Repel. It's one of our hardest hitting abilities. Does magnitude weapon damage 475. On RB, I like to use Ray of Enfeeblement. Does a lot of damage, and it increases the target's damage taken from magical and projectile attacks by 10%. It's great to use for damage, and it's great to use as a buff for yourself and your team. I also use Icy Rays. Reason why is it does a lot of damage. 400 magnitude weapon damage when you cast it on the same target. Then I use Chill Strike. Reason why? Highest magnitude damage. 13.6 cooldown. It's pretty good. Dailies you want to be using. Ice Knife. Nothing has changed for single target. Oppressive Force for AOE. Really nothing has changed. You can use Furious Emulation. It's still good. I personally just like Oppressive Force better. I think it does a little bit more damage. Class features. You want to be using Critical Conflagration. You gain 10% crit severity whenever you critically strike with one of your powers. You add Smolder to your target. This is very important for Ray of Frost. Swath of Destruction is the other one you want to use. You increase your Smolder damage by 5%, and targets affected by Smolder take 2% more damage. So this makes your Smolder do more damage, which you're going to be doing all the time thanks to Critical Conflagration with Cold, Arcane, and all kinds of abilities. Let's talk about feats. Smoldering Recovery. When your Smolder deals damage to an enemy, you gain 0.25% of your action points. If it's working as it's intended to, I don't think so. I don't think it's actually giving you as many action points as it should. I think it's a little broken. I think it should be giving you more. But use it. Glowing Flames. This is extremely important. Use it. Smolder Flames now radiate, dealing 20% of their normal damage to afflicted enemies within 15% of the primary target. What this basically does is turn your single target damages into AOE, and it does a lot of damage. Next, Shatter Strike. Whenever you deal damage to a frozen target, you have a 20% chance to shatter them. Shattered foes are stunned for 5 seconds and take 250 magnitude damage. Use it. If you freeze an enemy, it's going to do a lot. And on bosses, why it's good to use on bosses, you can't control bosses, so the tooltip says, additionally, your control powers deal an additional 100 magnitude damage against control immune targets, like bosses. So it's going to make all your control powers, which we're using all control powers, do more damage. Use it. Critical Burn. Your critical severity is increased by 10%, and Smolder now deals 25% more crit damage. Amazing. Use it. And the last one, Directed Flames. Smolder now deals 75% of its total damage instantly, but no longer deals damage over time. It's amazing. It's burst damage instead of damage over time. Use it. Now, a reason why I tell you guys to use Ray of Frost. You sit here, you channel it, and then what it does, this goddamn tree keeps getting in my way. And then what it does is it radiates the Smolder to all the nearby enemies, doing a massive AOE. And since you have the thing that gives you more Smolder damage and enemies affected by Smolder take more damage, you're also doing more damage to them and applying a debuff to them by 2% for you and your teammates. And it does a ton of damage. Let me show you. Hold down Ray of Frost, just channel it. Every single time you see an orange number pop up, it's going to give you see all that? So when you crit strike this enemy that I'm holding Ray of Frost on, all the enemies around it start taking Smolder damage. Look at all the DOTs. Now, mind you, like I said, my stats aren't right. I don't have anything in. Normally, when I hold this down, I do a ton more damage, and I crit way more. My stats, since I don't have any of my enchantments on, are really low. Look at my stats. They're terrible. Absolutely terrible. And let's speak about stats, where you guys should be at, because a lot of you guys are probably not at the stat caps, and it's very important that you get to the stat caps. Armor penetration. You want to be at 68,000. Nothing less, nothing more. Well, you can be a little bit more, but nothing less than 68,000. 68,000 armor pen. 68,000 defense is where you want to be. 68,000 critical strike. That'll put you at the cap. 68,000 critical avoidance. 73,000 accuracy, I believe it is. 68,000 deflect. Combat advantage. Get it as high as you can. I think the cap's out around 120,000. Awareness, I believe, is 73,000. Those are your stat caps. If your armor pen is below 68,000, you will not be doing 100% damage. If your critical strike is below 68,000, you will not be critting that often. So make sure you get all of these at 68,000 or higher. It should be very easy to do with companions and companion gear and gear itself. So, those are the counters I use. Ice Strike, Repel, Icy Rays, Ray of Enfeeblement on RB. That's it. Mix in an Ice Knife for a daily every once in a while. There you go. Lightning Enchantment. And just wail on them Ray of Frost. Obviously, like I said, if I had my stats right in this video and I had all my enchantments on, I would be critting way more. You would be seeing a ton more yellow or orange numbers popping up. It would be doing a ton more damage. So basically what you want to do is just stand here, wail on the enemies till you get your encounters back, use all your single target encounters, and go back to channeling Ray of Frost and then damage all the enemies around you with the lightning enchantment arcs and the smolder AOE damage. Like I said, though, it would be doing a lot more damage. If I had my critical strike higher, you'd be seeing yellow numbers pop up everywhere. Trust me, it does a ton of damage. I've tried all the AOE and counter powers out in this game. To me, they just don't do that much damage. Icy Terrain is good, but I'd rather just use the single target abilities and then use Ray of Frost to channel my at will to spread the glowing flames. I think that that's the best thing to use. I do more damage that way. And I've been using it. I tested everything. I'm definitely doing much more damage just using the build I'm showing you. Now, let's go ahead and talk about boons. I'm not going to spend too much time on the boons. These are the boons I'm using. I'm not even going to tell you what they are because I'm not trying to make the video longer, but you see them on the screen. Pause the video. These are the best boons you want to be using. So, these are the boons to use. Guild Stronghold, obviously you want to be using your 8,000 power bonus on offense, 8,000 defense. If you need it, if not, hit points, utility, whatever you want. Obviously, everybody uses mountain bonus. Companions, best in slot. I talked about this in the past. For bonding runestones, you want to use, obviously, the highest bonding runestone you can, rank 15. For companions, you want to use, as best companion gear as you possibly can, and you want to be using all M-powered runestones on your companion. That's it. 3 pieces of companion gear with 6 empowered runestones to get you a ton more power. When I had all my stats, all my stuff on this build, I had 198,000 power. Let's talk about companion bonuses. On a control wizard, we get 3 offensive, 1 defensive, and 1 utility. Best in slot, offensive power, Deep Crow's presence. All of these companions I'm showing you are at legendary. They're all at legendary, you see? Legendary, 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 legendary Deep Crow, the whole 9. All these at legendary. Legendary Minstrel, legendary mercenary. Offensive power, Baby Deep Crow's presence from the Deep Crow hatchling. Gives you 8,000 power. Use it. Defensive power, I talked about this in the past. The Minstrel. It's the only defensive companion in the game that gives you power. 4,000 power, 2,000 awareness. Use it. Offensive power, Raptor's Instincts. Comes from the tamed Velociraptor. Use it all the time. It gives you 10,000 more power when you're with your group. Offensive power, Mercenary. 4,000 power, 2,000 combat advantage. It's amazing. Utility power, if you have an alpha compy. Only if you have an alpha compy, use it. It gives you 5% more power, 10% more power in all of Cholt, which is T9, Cradle of the Death God, and all of Cholt. 10% more power if you have it in there, 5% more power everywhere else. If you don't have it, or if you have it, use it. If you don't have it, a really, really good utility companion I've been testing out a lot is the Cockatrice. The Cockatrice, you can pick it up in the auction house. I have one on my other character I'm testing it on. I don't have any more of them where I would show you one of mine. Just go to the auction house under companions and type in that and search. You can see here. Player bonus power. This is a utility companion. 10% chance to do 30% weapon damage, which goes to 40% at legendary, and root the source of the target for 6 seconds. Every single time you get damaged by an attacker, you have a 10% chance to do 40% weapon damage back to them and root them for 6 seconds so they cannot move. I don't even have to tell you why that's so good. You're doing damage back to attackers and you're making them rooted so they can't move. It's really, really good. If you don't have an alpha compy, I would highly recommend to get a Cockatrice. I have one on another class that I'm working on right now, and I love it. So, we talked about character sheet. We talked about everything gear-wise, artifacts-wise, stats-wise. We talked about powers, encounters, mechanics, the whole 9. Talked about boons. Talked about companions. Now we're going to go ahead and get into the last thing, the mounts. This is a very important section. Combat power. If you have a legendary mount, use whatever one you want, because they're not cheap. So if you have one, just use what you have. I'm using the Vortex because I like the way the Carpet of Flying looks. Equip power. Use whatever you have. If not, use as much power as you can get. I'm using one for 5,000 more power, 5,000 more armor pen, because I don't have a plus 10,000 power one. Now, your insignia bonuses in this game are the most important thing, and I've pointed this out in many videos. It is your source of survivability. It is your source of lifesteal. you have to be using the right Insignia bonuses. I took all of my Insignias out, but I'm going to tell you the ones to use, and I'm going to even show a picture on the screen right now. So, you want to be using Oppressor's Reprieve. When stunned, knocked, or immobilized, you generate 5% of your HP over 5 seconds. It's basically free lifesteal. It's going to heal you. You want to be using Combatant's Maneuver. After controlling an enemy, you gain 2,500 combat advantage damage. It's really important, and we control enemies all the time. Next, you could use this one if you want. I think it's like so-so, but I'm still using it. Cavalry's Warning. When you use a mount combat power, only if you have a legendary mount. If you have a legendary mount, pick something else. You receive a buff to all ratings. It basically gives you 1,000 more to all your ratings. 1,000 more power, 1,000 more combat advantage, 1,000 more accuracy, 1,000 more armor pen, crit strike, the whole 9. The next one is the most important mount Insignia bonus to use for every class in the game. Barbarian's Revelry. On critical strike, receive a heal. Every single time you critically strike an enemy, you heal yourself for 1% of your max HP. It procs all the time. It will keep you alive. Barbarian's Revelry paired with Oppressor's Reprieve will give you back a ton of health. It's like lifesteal. For those of you guys complaining, oh my god, I'm dying so much, I'm taking so much damage, you're probably not using these two mount powers. Any class in the game needs to be using both of these. And for the last one, Artificers Persuasion. When you use an artifact, you reduce your cooldown powers. Every single time you use an artifact, like your Decanter of Atropal Essence, you're going to reduce your encounter powers by 2 seconds. It's not the greatest, but it helps. So those are the boons. Not the boons. Those are the Insignia bonuses you want to be using. Especially Barbarian's Revelry and Oppressor's Reprieve and Combatant's Maneuver. The other two, you can use something different if you want. But those three are most important, and this is what I'm using, and this is what I feel is the best. Also, you want to be using all power insignias on your mounts if you could. Insignias of Dominance. You want to be using all insignias of Dominance. Now, insignias of Dominance, as I pointed out in the past, are not made in Enlightened or Crescent. So, you have to get Brutalities. They're very expensive. That's why I still have purple ones, because I can't afford to get legendary ones. So, all Dominance insignias. Insignia Dominance. All of them. Illuminated insignias of Dominance, Regal insignias of Dominances, Barbed insignia of Dominance. Use them all. Have them all at legendary. You'll get as much power as possible. That's it. I covered the insignia bonuses. I covered the mounts. I covered the mount things. I covered the companions. I covered the boons. I covered the powers, the encounters. I covered the character sheet. I covered the stats. I covered the gear. This is what I'm using. Obviously, if I had all my enchantments on and I had all my companion gear on, my gear score was 23,100 and something. My power was like 190 something thousand. My armor pen was like, I think 71,000. My defense was 69,000. My critical strike was 70,000. And all my stats were like 65 to 75,000. But I have all, like I said before, I have all my stuff on my Trickster Rogue. I'm testing him out, trying some stuff out. Probably going to bring a Trickster Rogue build to you guys soon. So anyway, this is my Control Wizard build that I use in Mod 16. You could choose it and use it, or you could choose something else. But I can tell you right now, everything I said in this video after testing makes me do the most damage with my wizard in Mod 16. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if this helped you any. And let me know if you're already using some of these things and some of this gear and so on and so forth. And make sure if anybody's looking for a Control Wizard build, you share this with them. So that's about it, man. This was a long video. I knew it was going to be long. It's already 40 minutes. I've been talking nonstop. I got to go get some water. If you guys enjoyed the video, man, go ahead and hit that thumbs up like. Using this build, you'll be able to do a lot of damage, have a lot of survivability, and you shouldn't die that often. I don't die ever, actually. So YouTube, this is the Assist Man, and until next time, I am out.